Welcome to Take Up Space. Catalyze your creative cosmic fire. We are living in a time of profound planetary healing, and the world needs conscious and engaged women to step up and embody our full feminine wisdom. Even as divisions and crises point to the intensity of collective evolutionary forces at play, we get to honor and deepen our connection to the divine feminine. For it is by tending to and resourcing our connection to the sacred and to the cosmos that we heal, thrive, and flourish together. It's time to express your full radiance and beauty and take your place by taking up space. This summit offers a doorway of creative transformation to support you in stepping into your light. Be inspired by the gathering of women leaders who are here to show you the way. I'm your host for this event, Irene Chong, and today I'm excited because my dear friend and sister, Julia, who is also featured as one of the speakers on this summit, will be interviewing me. So thank you, Julia. You can take it from here.
Thank you, Irene. And I am so excited, and it's a great, great honor and pleasure to interview you as this creatrix for that amazing summit. So please, to the audience, welcome with me, Irene, and her topic, where we are going to be speaking and being inspired about space creation for catalytic growth. Irene is the founder of Alignment Journeys, a business that was born out of a desire to fill the gaps in knowledge that aren't readily available in conventional education systems. Through the Aligned Women's Way, an art of creating space that fosters and facilitates feminine flow, Irene teaches women how to tap into and access their innate intuition and wisdom, the inner wellspring from which beauty and ease naturally flow. Irene is on a mission to empower heart-centered women to shine in their authentic radiance and beauty. As coach, mentor, and creative consultant, she works with her clients to craft and curate every aspect of their lives so they get to live the masterpiece that they dream of. And I guess with this at heart, it's such a beautiful introduction and intention to have created that summit. And Irene, I'm honored to welcome you, and I'm also honored to be a part of this amazing gathering and co-creation of women. So my first question to you, of course, as you have asked and interviewed many before now, is what does reclaiming your divine feminine expression personally mean to you? And what was the biggest breakthrough or lesson that you learned from that?
Thank you, Julia, for that question. So I'd like to start with a story about my transition from girlhood to becoming a woman. And this is a story that contains violence and abuse. So I do want to preface this with a trigger warning and also to add that I've healed profoundly from this trauma. So I've arrived at a place where I'm able to share it openly now because I was able to transmute all of the heavy lead from this incident into the gold that I am today. So when I was a little girl, and this was, when I was just born, I had all this fire in me. So as you know, in my natal chart, I have a big stellium in Sagittarius. So speaking my truth, being outspoken, that's my real nature. But it was often harshly put down, especially in my family of origin. I grew up in a very traditional Asian family where the mindset was that you obey your elders and you don't question. And that was very antithetical to my nature. So I remember I was about 12 years old at the time, and I don't recall what the exact issue was. But it was one of those moments when I disagreed with my parents and I stood up for myself. And I spoke my truth. Uh, Definitely, both parties were angry. I spoke out loud. And then I went into my room that I shared with my older sister at the time. And the next thing I knew, I heard my dad stomp up the stairs. And there was this whoosh, like a clear knowing from somewhere. I now know that it was my guides speaking to me. And the message came really clear and loud. It was, Irene, you're in trouble. Like, be careful. It almost felt like, one of those Star Trek moments when an alien voice kind of comes in. And what I was aware later on in life was that I would usually receive these direct messages, and they came in the form generally when I'm being warned or alerted to something. So what I hadn't realized was that my father was having a really bad day, and he was displeased with me for speaking my truth. And he was a strong, powerful man. He worked in construction, and I was this, tiny, skinny 12 years old. So he grabbed me by my hands and he pulled me. And by that stage, my legs, they had turned to jelly. My whole body was collapsing from this warning that came out of the blue. And this warning, it startled me because it was one of those early moments in my life when I would receive messages like this, and I didn't understand where it was coming from. So as he hauled me away, I tripped and I fell and I couldn't get back up because he was moving so fast. And my father, he was so strong, he just yanked me down the stairs, and then both my parents tied me up. They tied me up at my wrists and my ankles. They pushed me down on the floor. It was nighttime and they switched off the light, so it was pitch dark. I couldn't see anything. And then both my father and my mother, in their frustration, they began to kick and punch me. And they were just really venting all the unhappiness and anger that they were experiencing in their lives. And they were just taking it out on me. They were hitting me wherever they could, and my stomach, my legs, right, wherever they could reach. And then eventually, when they were spent and they had enough, they untied me and they left me on the floor. And I must have lain there for 30 minutes or more. I realized at some point nobody was going to come and get me. My two sisters, and we had a domestic helper at the time, they were upstairs in the room asleep because it was late at night by then. And essentially in our family, we all know, right, if we interfere in any way, we will get into trouble. So there was an unspoken policy of just keeping out. But that also made me feel incredibly isolated, very alone. And back then, all I really knew was that in order to survive, I had to stuff down all my emotions and feelings and just keep on carrying on. So what happened at that moment in time was that there was this numbness in my entire being from the shock of the violence that had been inflicted on me, on my physical being. And then the next day, sometime in the afternoon, that was when I discovered I had a stain in my underwear. And it wasn't bright red. It was a dark, rusty brown. And the first thought I had at the time was, oh, this is internal bleeding from the previous night. And I still remember that I was choking up a little bit. And then my mind kicked in. By then, I was telling myself, like, no more. That's enough. We're not going to cry. And so I just kind of basically pushed down all the grief and the sorrow that I was feeling. And I carried on. And I didn't tell anybody about it. So it was my domestic helper who saw my underwear in the laundry. And she was the one who reported it to my mother. And how I knew that I got in my first period was because the helper told me to go to my mother's room. And when I entered, she just handed me a pad without saying a word. And that was it. So I look back now, knowing what I know, and I see that this sacred rite of passage of me and my first bleed, it was wrapped up in two painful learnings. Number one, don't speak your truth. You're going to be beaten up for it. You'll be punished. And two, I didn't see my coming of age as a woman as something to celebrate. It felt more like a punishment and a shameful secret, because in the moment that my mother handed me the pad, there was this atmosphere of guilt, of shame. There was this unspoken knowing that we were not going to talk about this anymore. We were definitely not going to mention it to my father. So that was that incident. And let's now talk about reclaiming my divine feminine expression. For years, like after that episode, a core part of me shut down. I locked away this incident. I didn't want to think about it. And it took really a very long, gradual unpeeling and shedding of all the armor, all the walls I'd put up in my heart. Energy medicine was a huge part of my initial healing journey, as you know. I went for Reiki healing treatments, and then I became a practitioner myself. And as my energy started to heal and open up, I began to have remembrances. Some of them were spontaneous, and these were strong memories about teaching the blood mysteries of being a priestess and all the persecution wounds around speaking up and being seen. So the throat and the womb, they are intricately connected. And I realized that I had to clear the blockages I had in both these areas. So in my younger years, in the example I just gave, so that was an extreme example, but there were many more incidents, right? Layers upon layers over a period of time, years, when I learned to stay quiet. And I found that when I did speak, I sounded very tentative and very unsure. So as a result, I didn't feel that people were listening to me. And a huge part of it was because I didn't believe I had anything of value to say. So the womb work and the voice medicine that I did, these were integral in helping me to heal the trauma from this life and also other lifetimes. And as I slowly began to do that, I started to realize that I still had this fire. There was so much of it within me that was longing to be expressed. I found that the fire, which was initially big and bright when I was a child, I started to dim my light. It became embers, but it was never completely gone. So I now began to stoke it, to strengthen that fire. And the biggest breakthrough I had throughout this long journey, speaking up, shutting myself down, and then reclaiming my voice, is that we, especially as women, we have powerful things to say, and we all have important gifts to share. But somehow, in one way or another, we've been conditioned to play small, to stay hidden. Some of this programming has been violently imposed, and some of it has been a bit more insidious in the kind of cultural programming that's kind of taught to us from a young age in our education. And I really feel that the time is now. It is time to rise and reclaim our creative cosmic fire. I believe that that's why you and I are here today. And my hope is in sharing this summit, the women who are watching this will feel the call in their own lives to take up space. Right? That may involve unpacking past trauma, as I did, and it may also involve just finding ways to strengthen the creative fire they have inside of themselves so that they can shine and radiate that light outwards. So that's my story, and that was the breakthrough that I had.
Wow, Irene, thank you so much for that truly, truly vulnerable and personal story. I did not know that. And you've truly like taken all of us on that heroine's journey, living all the emotions with you, and how seeing and feeling, perceiving you now, like with this power and this burning fire, like to tell your story, that it's not diminishing your light anymore. It's such an inspiration. So yeah, we can all feel that fire is there, and that it's here to bring big change and big transformation. So thank you so much for sharing that, and also for creating that space for other women to speak up and to take up space and to own their own story. I think that there's such a power and beauty in that. Thank you. So let's move to this year's theme. It's your third summit, and the yay! The theme is catalyze your creative cosmic fire. I mean, it couldn't be more appropriate. And I know that you also shared that there is an involvement of ISIS, so I'm curious to hear that one, and also like what is that intention and really at the core of this burning flame.
Mm. Thank you, Julia, for that sweet and kind and very open-hearted reflection. Um, and yes, the story to how this summit started. In fact, I think I'm going to leave that piece about ISIS at the end when I share my free gift. So that's a little teaser there. But let me answer what inspired me to choose this year's theme, which is catalyze your creative cosmic fire. So I think I'll begin by just saying that the fact is we are living in catalytic times. And I remember back in December last year, during winter solstice, that was when I started tuning into the energies of 2025. And what stood out for me was that this was a threshold year. And the astrology really points to that, right? We have all the outer planets, and the outer planets signify the collective energies at play. all of these outer planets, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, they're moving into new signs this year. We have both Neptune and Saturn. They're tiptoeing. It's kind of like a dance. They're moving in and out of the first and last sign of the zodiac. So they'll be moving between Pisces and Aries for the whole of this year. And that in itself suggests that this year we are in an in-between state. What I mean by that is to say that we are in between what is ready to be released, to be let go of, and what is ready to be born, Aries, the self, coming into our individual sovereignty. And typically, when we're at the threshold, when we are on the brink of something new, but it's not quite there yet, there's this transitional moment that can feel very uncomfortable and even disorienting. And I've certainly been feeling this way during several moments throughout the year. And it's uncomfortable because the ground feels shaky. It can even seem like the rug is being pulled out from under you. I think I was just sharing with you pre-recording that just yesterday, I was feeling this collective energy in the space that was causing me to be pulled out from my core, from my center, and it shook me a little. So this being a threshold year, it's actually one of the reasons why I created a course at the start of the year, and I named it Threshold, because the purpose of it is to help women navigate this liminal time. And then right now, at this moment when we're having this conversation, it's July 2025, and we've just passed the halfway point of this year. 6 months are gone. We have another 6 months coming. And that is also another crossing. It's another threshold moment for all of us. And the big cosmic alignment that everyone's talking about is that Uranus, that outer planet, has just shifted into Gemini. So this took place at the 7-7 portal on July 7th. And there was so much magic in the synchronicity of it all. Even the date that we're having this conversation as well, right? That's just perfect timing. So with Uranus, let's talk about Uranus. It's regarded as the planet of awakening and it's liberator energy. So what it liberates ultimately is our consciousness. And it does this by working as a catalyst. In fact, you may already have been feeling this shift. I know I certainly have. There's a quickening of energies in the space. There's an acceleration that's taking place. And so we can look at Uranus, its entry into Gemini, as a catalytic moment. So the theme, catalyze your creative cosmic fire, that actually came as an inspired download. And these flashes of insight that come through, they are very Uranian. Because Uranus represents the higher mind at work. And then my Mercury, right, which has to do with practical intelligence, the day-to-day aspects of thinking. My mercurial mind had to make sense of why this topic for the year. And I realized that the word catalyze, it means to accelerate or trigger a process. So you may remember this from science class. Whenever we have a catalyst, it's a substance that increases the rate of a chemical reaction without it changing in any way. So we add in a catalyst to accelerate a process, but the catalyst itself, it doesn't change. And the reason why we use catalysts, it's because it helps us to facilitate faster, more energy efficient transformation. And how I like to think about it is that when a catalyst is introduced, magic happens. We can think of ordinary, everyday processes. Something simple like making bread. So you have yeast, you have sugar, but if you just put the two elements together, nothing happens. Or it's going to take a very long time. So what we do is that we add heat so that it will ferment, which is to say that heat is the catalyst. And then the yeast will rise due to the fermentation process, and then we have bread. Another example is hydrogen and oxygen. So these are separate elements. We see them in the gaseous state. But when we mix them together and we introduce a spark, it is that spark, that heat, that fire that will create water. So when I felt into it, I could just really feel that the fire, even in these analogies that I've given, heat is often a catalyst for things to accelerate, for things to occur. So looking at the time that we're currently living in, on the surface level, so at the 3D level, the 3D reality of what's going on our planet, things don't look particularly promising. There are all these wars, economic turmoil that's going on, and we can see old patriarchal structures falling apart. Every time I just take a peek at the news, I hear about political systems collapsing, and there is this collective breakdown that's happening. So we find that more and more people, they're being shaken awake. And there's an existential crisis that I feel the world is facing on a collective level. And the answers, they're not going to be dropped down from the top down, right? These old ways of being and doing, or even trusting in an external authority, it's no longer sufficient. In fact, I would say it's becoming redundant. So with Uranus coming in, Uranus is the harbinger of change and upheaval. And in fact, when it was at 29 degrees of Taurus not so long ago, we saw an uptick in the level of seismic activity and natural disasters. So now that it's made its way into Gemini, what can we expect for the next 84 years? So that's a significant period of time where we will have Uranus in Gemini. So when I think of Gemini, I think what most often comes to our minds is, oh, it's about communication, it's about connection, because Gemini rules data, information, learning, education as well. So the last time Uranus was in Gemini, this was around 1941. There was radio broadcasting, it readily expanded. There was also wartime propaganda. And in fact, computers were in early development at the time. These days, computers it's like a common accessory that most of us have. So in these times, the biggest trending topic is AI, artificial intelligence. And at the same time, we still have ongoing distortions of truth, agendas by social media. So this brings up all kinds of questions, like how are we going to navigate it and to navigate it well? So I briefly shared that Uranus is the awakener and liberator. So with Uranus and Gemini, we're going to find more people waking up. We're going to start asking questions like, what is real? But also, who controls the narrative? Because with all the noise and distortion that's going on, it's going to be especially important for us all to be more discerning. So simultaneously, with Uranus and Gemini, there's going to be a revolution, a reinvention in collective consciousness. By the same time, we, on the personal level, we will also need to up-level our inner consciousness. In fact, more than ever, it's going to be really vital that we question everything, right? Whatever it was that we've been taught in conventional school systems, the programming that we received in our childhood, and so on, if we haven't already been doing so, it's going to be really critical that we start turning within and we ask, what or who can I ultimately trust? So in the work that I do in alignment journeys, I talk a lot about coming back into inner alignment, finding our inner compass. That's the lie detector, right? The inner eye that can perceive truth. We'll need that so that we can separate out what is your truth from what is somebody else's truth. So we now know in the overview of Uranus in Gemini, this is going to be big. And then when I think about the word catalyze, coming back to the theme, there's a dictionary definition that's similar, and it's very much connected to what we just talked about, right? Catalyst as that chemical reaction, but we also use catalyze as an adjective. And what it means is that it inspires or it can bring about significant change. And so that's what I see this summit as, right? It's a start. I'm hoping that it is a spark that will catalyze women, the women who are watching this, that it will precipitate, right? To motivate, encourage, inspire all the women who are watching this to take aligned action. So if you're watching this, I really strongly invite all of you who are here to take in all the offerings. My suggestion is to notice what resonates, what causes an aha moment inside of you, right? That inner truth, what lights you up, and what are the new learnings here that you can begin to apply to your life. So that's my invitation. And I've said quite a bit about catalyze here. So let me answer your question, let me end by speaking into the other half, which is all about your creative cosmic fire. And Julia, as you know, your interview was all about starfire. So that connects really well. So earlier on, when I shared the story about my menarche, my first bleed, I shared how there was all this fire inside of me. And this is creatrix fire. I think of our biological capacity as women to create life. We all have our ability to give birth, right? And that's intrinsically tied to our menstrual cycle. And I know that for me, also for many of the women that I've spoken to, it seems that in order to own our creatrix superpowers, all of us have had to do deep energetic work to heal our wombs. And this is because this is a symptom of how toxic patriarchy has silenced women by cutting us off to the reverential, the sacred power of our innate feminine wisdom. So I had to learn about how it is that my hormones fluctuate on a biological level and how that translates to a way of cyclical living that's different from the linear, right? The very go, go, go mode of doing things that I was conditioned, that I was brought up in. I also had to reclaim, and I did this through ritual and ceremony, where I went in a quantum kind of way to do a ritual around my first bleed and to celebrate that. And I did that using the red thread in a ceremony. And we've talked about the red thread before, so I won't go into that here. But this idea of our creative cosmic fire, right? It's more than just our blood, right? Because I'm not just talking about birthing physical babies. And in fact, I'm not a biological mother myself. What I'm saying here is that we get to birth other things like projects, like this summit. It could be a dream that you hold inside of you that you've been kind of cradling inside and have not had the courage or the inspiration to manifest it, to bring it into 3D reality. So what I found for me, it was healing and igniting my creatrix capability that enabled me to heal and for me to be doing what I'm doing now. And in all of that personal journey, that's how I came up with a curriculum that I called SPACE. And SPACE is an acronym, as you know. It stands for self-love, pleasure, authenticity, creativity, and easeful beauty. So I talked briefly about this in my daily videos for this summit. And I guess I won't go into detail here. But what I want to come back to is the idea of creativity. That's what C stands for. And that's really the message, the theme of this year's summit. Because I want to call women to become that catalyst for change. That yes, we are living in catalytic times, but we also get to be catalysts. Right? We get to stoke that fire inside of ourselves, set it ablaze, be that lighthouse for others. Because I truly believe that so many of us, we have come at this time to be way showers, and we no longer have to silence ourselves or stay hidden anymore. So at this threshold moment that we're all standing in, my sense is that many of us have come into healing. We've either fully healed or are still spiraling through that process as we evolve, but we are ready. We are ready for catalytic growth. And by that, I mean we are in a time of accelerated evolution. Things are happening fast. We are ready for it. It also means that we have to root and ground ourselves. And in the work that I do, I talk about this inner alignment. It's about rooting in our womb center, connecting with our throats, that co-creatrix power as we have to voice our truth, aligning that with what we feel in our hearts, that soul-aligned truth, connecting that with our pineal power of discernment, of seeing. When all that is aligned, we get to share and shine forth our gifts. So I hope that answers your question as to why I decided to center this year's summit around the theme of catalyzing your creative cosmic fire.
It does. And it inspired and sparked so much more as well. So thank you so much for that, elaborate answer. And, one thing that I'm observing inside myself, like while really being at your lips, like in awe, seeing the inner teacher come alive and really flourish. I love that. Is how within these conversations in ourselves, there is these sparks that you so well explained with physics and experiments without necessarily having to speak into them, but let's just like observing them inside, like being lit up and taking a mental note inside is like, oh, I want to come back to that. So there were a few in your answer for myself, and I'm sure for the audience as well. And I want to thank you for that. There is, I mean, there's so much like from what you shared about Uranus and also, you know, I feel that that creativity that you especially mentioned in towards the end in the West. I'm not sure if this is the same like for you, but I feel like in the West or in Western culture, so many of us, especially in school, are kind of like being brought up that creativity has to be something where we are being credited or even judged for. And so a lot like refrain from that and feel like, oh, I'm not creative. I don't want to do that. And whereas we forget that creativity is like we are creation over and over and we create all the time. And so I really love how with your perspective, you and all the beautiful speakers in the summit are catalyzing this remembrance of we are the conscious creatrix and connecting back to that creative, cosmic creative fire.
Well, that's really beautiful, Julia. And in fact, as you were talking, suddenly had this inspired insight to share because we're talking about Gemini, information, early education, right? That's all a part of it. And I think back on my former career as a school teacher and what I was sharing and what I now share. You know, there are similarities, but there are also differences. And one of the
Mm.
interesting things is that there are these limitations that have been imposed on us. And I'll just use the galactic messages that are coming through as an example. So when I was young, I had this vivid imagination. And what I hadn't realized, you know, in the story I shared, I received this like an alert. It felt like a cosmic alarm bell. And I didn't know where it was coming from back then. Now looking back, I realized that, you know, as I've connected with my cosmic allies and spirit guides, I now see that they've been with me all this while. It's just that I had never been taught growing up as a little girl that
Yeah.
connect with them or that they even exist. In fact, in the moments when I did share, I was told, "Wow, you have such a fertile imagination," or "That's not true, you know, you're making it up," things like that. And so that kind of programming led me to only prioritize what I could see, what I could logically and rationally explain with my mind. And as I went on my own personal healing journey, as I started to connect with these guides, the questions, the self-doubting, they would still come in. But right now, with Uranus and Gemini, we're also gonna start sensing more and more that people have these abilities, that it's not a talent that only a few have. We actually
Yes.
all have that capability. It's just that it was not taught, it was not shown to us. But we're now going to start seeing more and more people receive messages and downloads. You may use the word, you know, like different languages for it. Could be just speaking directly to your guides. It could be communicating with your ancestors. It could take the form of channeling certain languages, like light language. Whatever form it takes, we all have that ability to connect to higher frequencies. The danger, and I spoke about this, you know, where we have to discern. A danger is that not all non-physical frequencies are benevolent. It's not all for our highest good. In fact, if you just look at the 3D reality and the kind of propaganda that goes on when we can be told one thing and it can be pitched to us in a very positive light, like, oh, it's meant to help us. But when we can see beyond the distortions, we realize that the truth isn't as clear cut. So the same applies for non-physical dimensions. And so it becomes even more important to cultivate that inner discernment so that we can separate out what is truly for our highest good and what is not. And of course, every time we interact and we connect with these higher frequencies, there are these protective shields that we can put up. We can call upon the archangels to protect us, for example, to keep us in our highest frequencies and only allow what is of benefit to us to enter our field. So all these, this was the education that I later on received. And it was separate from the kind of conventional education that most of us were schooled in. So that was an insight that came through. And, for me on my personal journey, it was the Pleiades that really called, right? Some see it as, oh, it's a star family. It could potentially be a star seed. Whatever the language is, because the Pleiades can be found within the final degrees of Taurus and Gemini, we also have Uranus now aligning with the Pleiades. So that Pleiadian portal is very present right now as well. And if you know anything about the myth of the Pleiades, it's the seven sisters, beautiful divine feminine energies that are coming through. And so what this also means for us is that we get to really catalyze, accelerate our evolution in the divine feminine. The sacred feminine is calling us, and it's calling us more strongly than ever. And I really do feel that with this threshold, Uranus stepping into Gemini, 0 degrees, we are really coming into that threshold moment where the divine feminine is going to rise in consciousness at an accelerated rate like never before. So I just wanted to put that out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. I really feel like I want to ask you to lead us into an activation to ignite that creative fire. But before we actually go there, I would love to hear your personal aha moment from all of the interviews that you have had with these, yeah, amazing lineup of speakers this time. Was there anything that stood out to you or anything where you were really inspired on a personal level?
Oh, beautiful question. Thank you for asking me that, Julia. Yeah, I just want to say that I have been inspired by each and every interview that I've conducted.
Mm.
Beautiful hearing not just the personal story and the journey that each speaker went on, but what I also sensed was every woman, and that's why, I truly believe that every woman has something to share. It could be very different from each other. And for the audience who's watching this, right, as you watch each interview over the course of 5, 6, 7 days, you'll find that there's this beautiful diversity and inclusivity, that every woman has something special to share. And I hope that this serves as a reflection to them, that they too, even if they don't believe it right now, at the moment, I hope that there'll be that spark, that little question that, well, maybe they do have something unique to share and that they can step up in whatever way they ultimately choose to share their gifts. It could be just within their family, within their community, or even a larger global environment. So I was very much inspired by that. Some of these speakers have been my teachers for a long while, and some of them, I was just impressed by the truth, the integrity that they carried. And so I wanted the opportunity to connect with them. And then what I'll also share is that um, each time I interviewed them, they had the opportunity to guide all of us through an activation. So I was doing it in real time, but the field is still very much present when you watch this, when you watch the recording. So every time I did one of those activations, I could feel an up leveling, an upgrade in my energy. And that felt very, very powerful because I truly believe that when we are in alignment, synchronicity becomes an everyday affair. And that was my experience. Like each time, it was the speakers who scheduled the call, right? They chose it according to what suited them on their calendar. And every time we met, it would be, either I'm going through something at the moment, and what they had to share was exactly what I needed to hear at the moment. And the activation they took me through was exactly the medicine that I needed to shift my state. And that's why it's so incredibly powerful to put yourself in a container like this. Um, if you're able to, that's what I highly encourage, right? To set up a container like this. Imagine if you were actually attending a physical summit, you'll be there fully present, right? And you'll be able to access all of this. Alternatively, there also is the option to purchase lifetime access so that you can keep coming back to the recordings again and again. But what I've definitely found myself able to do is that each time I do this summit, I'm able to hold an energetic container that has a higher frequency each time. Because I've changed, I've grown, I've evolved. And that also means that the energetic container I hold for the duration of when this summit goes live it just feels more easeful each time. So that's what I have to share. And I hope that this share inspires and serves all the women who are tuning in. Yeah.
Oh, I feel it creates such an excitement, even for myself, to want to tune in and listen to every interview. So thank you. Okay, well, I'd say stage is yours to lead us into an activation yourself and upgrade our cells into the ignition of the cosmic creative fire.
Yeah, let's do an activation to help us attune to our own creatrix codes. And so my invitation to you is to get comfortable, carve out about 15 to 20 minutes of silent space for yourself. And as I guide you through this channeled transmission, you can already feel the codes arriving. I invite you to make yourself again comfortable, tune out anything that's not necessary. And I think what I'll do is that I will switch off my camera so that you can see the visual. That's the graphic that I have for this year's summit. So that's the flower of life. You'll still be able to hear my voice, but I just wanted to put the visual up there to symbolically guide and anchor you in. This is who you have come to be. And this symbol serves as a representation of the creatrix codes that you carry inside of you as a woman. So my invitation is for you to sit in a comfortable position. If you need to lie down, you may do so. But when it comes to carrying energies inside of us, our physical vessel is vital. And our spine, especially when you talk about Kundalini or Shakti life force energy, our physical temple, especially our spine, is crucial. So if you can, I strongly suggest that you sit in a position, either leaning against something sturdy, but keep your spine tall and straight. And then taking a few deep breaths, if you need to, shake your body. Get yourself comfortable by releasing all the stagnant and stuck energy that is inside of you. And then when you're ready, simply close your eyes to signal to yourself that we're going to turn within. And I always like to begin with the breath. This is what this is what enables us to live. Inhaling and exhaling deeply and slowly, gently and softly. With each inhale, we are reminded of the beautiful life force that enters into our physical temple. And with each exhale, we are reminded of the cycle of birth and death. As we inhale, we give life. As we exhale, we release and we shed. So continuing, focusing on your breath, focusing your intention and attention with each inhale and exhale that you are here to serve as a catalyst. You are here as a form of the divine, a spiritual being incarnated on beautiful planet Earth. With each inhale, feel your physical body expand and take up space. And as you exhale, feel the surrender and release, letting go all that no longer serves you. Inhaling, feeling your spine lift up tall. Exhaling, feeling that contraction. And then, if it helps, I invite you to imagine roots, strong, deep roots from under your seat, all the way down your thighs, your legs, your feet, all the way down into the core of Mama Gaia. Visualize these roots growing strong and thick, connecting you to the very core of Mother Earth. This is a reminder that you are not alone, that you are part of something bigger, that you are connected to all the women around the globe who are tuning into this summit, who are gathering together in virtual space, creating a quantum morphogenic field. In fact, go ahead and imagine. Visualize all your roots meeting together in the core of Mother Earth, communicating, connecting with each other, and feeling, receiving nourishment from this connection, and allowing that nourishment to rise up the roots, up, up, and up, all the way to your feet, your legs, your thighs, your hips, your pelvis, your womb space. Allow it all to be filled up with nourishment from Mother Earth, from all the other sisters that you have, all connected in this beautiful, profound way. Allow this energy, this nourishment to fill up your solar plexus, your chest, your heart, all the way up to your shoulders, your neck, down your arms, all the way to your wrists, your hands, and your fingers. Imagine this beautiful glowing light, radiant, nourishing life force energy, sustaining and filling you up. You may even sense your energy field, your entire aura, brimming and radiating with this beautiful, radiant, nourishing light. And then focusing on your crown, the top of your head. This is where your crown chakra is, that connects you to the cosmos and beyond. As you fill your spine up, your entire being, you begin to feel a tingle at the top of your head. A tingle, a sparkle that reminds you that you are connected to the cosmos as well, that you are a child of earth and heaven. Imagine a long column of brilliant white light, shimmering, sparkling down, touching your crown chakra and filling the rest of your body up as well. The intermingling of earth energies and cosmic potential. begin to visualize and feel this beautiful energy, cosmic forces, these frequencies of light that are showering down upon you now, activating your pineal gland, moving all the way down to your throat center, activating your potential to co-create and speak your truth. Allow it to fill up your heart chakra. This is where your soul-aligned truth resides. Allow this energy to light up the truth in your heart. And then this light begins to move down into your solar plexus, the center of your personal will, courage, clarity, as this light lights up your energy center. Feel this cosmic light move its way down to your sacral chakra, where your womb is. Some call it the hara or the dantian. You can imagine your womb space filling up with this radiant light, infusing your energy body with higher frequencies that activates your creatrix superpowers. Again, with each breath, filling your being up with this vital cosmic frequency, and allow it to infuse every cell in your body as it makes its way down to your root chakra, the base, the center, intermingling with the energies of Mama Gaia. And it is here that you begin to feel a little tingling, a little nudge of something awakening inside of you. And as you continue to breathe, you may even feel called to breathe in a circular way, inhaling, exhaling, feeling this energy circulate within your body, moving up your 7 chakras and down again with each inhale and exhale. And whichever way it is moving for you, just allow the movement to take place. If you feel called to move, to spiral your spine in any way, honor the truth in your body. There is no way that you can get this wrong. In fact, you are simply practicing, following the inner guidance, the body intelligence that you already innately have. And whether you are moving or sitting in silence and stillness, allow your entire field to attune to the energies that are very present at this moment. Intend for this energy to infuse your very being and to activate you for your highest and best good. It may help to have your palms upturned in a gesture of reverence and receptivity as you say yes. Yes to activating your fullest potential. Yes to becoming a catalyst for the world, for humanity. Yes to reclaiming and fully owning your creative cosmic fire. And taking a few moments to feel this fire inside of you. Perhaps you feel it in your womb. Your womb is a cauldron, a fiery space that holds new life and has the power to create and to manifest, to bring into being. Feel this fire in your womb. Feel it ignite and glow and grow stronger and brighter. And feel it connect to the fire in your heart, your divine soul flame that has never faded. It has always been there. Allow the two fires to merge, to connect, to interweave. And as you do so, you begin to feel a third flame in the center of your forehead. It's a brilliant white light, this glow in your pineal, the flame of your inner sight as you awaken to your inner truth. Allow these triple flames to glow, to connect. And as you sit in this moment of aligned, bright awakening, surrender to the moment and allow your entire cellular being to remember that this is what you came for. You came to remember. You came to awaken. And you came to catalyze your creative cosmic fire. This is the time for you now. Beautiful. And as you allow these energies to infuse your energetic field, know that this energy stays with you anytime you put your intention on it. Now that you have activated, it will be there when you call upon it with your intention and attention. In fact, you may set the intention that each time you listen to an interview from this summit, you allow yourself to receive all the transmissions and codes that come through, and not just listen from an intellectual space, but to receive from an energetic level, setting the intention and using this amplified field we're in now to support you in reclaiming, remembering, so that you may rise. And now, returning to the breath, where we started at the beginning. Take 3 deep, long breaths into your womb, into your heart. Exhaling, releasing with gratitude. Inhaling all that love from the cosmos, from Mother Earth. Exhaling with appreciation and thanks. And final deep inhale and exhale. And you've been in a deep activation. So I invite you to gently come back into the space by taking your time, feeling your seat on the floor or the chair, giving your toes and fingers a slight wriggle, sensing the temperature of the room that you're in, placing one hand on your heart and another on your womb space, really touching and connecting with your physical temple. And then, when you're ready, slowly fluttering your eyes open and coming back into the space. Welcome back and blessed be.
Thank you, Irene. That was really deep. And if I may share some reflections, the one thing that I felt very, very strongly was that almost like a spiral galaxy in my heart. That cosmic rose in a way. This is how it felt and looked like, with very radiant colors and sparks and kind of like chaos, but order and divine structure at the same time, and just like expanding and pulsating. So thank you. My fire is activated.
Share, Julia. Yes, it was such a powerful transmission. I mean, I channeled it on the spot with the intention of this being of service to the women who are watching. So it was also incredible what was coming through. I didn't plan or prepare for it. And everything that you shared, like that spiraling vortex of energy, I felt that too. And I could feel my spine moving. Like it was
Mm,
as I was channeling that transmission, because it was such a gentle, it was powerful, but it was gentle. And one of the things that I love about the feminine that's personal to me was that I used to live my life in such a masculine, push, almost aggressive way that when I discovered the spiral, right, that's powerful movement. Just think of the cyclone, the whirlwind, whirlpools, so much power in that vortex. But it doesn't feel like it's not aggressive. You're really just going with the flow, surrendering. And there is so much power in that. So, yeah, I just wanted to share that. And I'm so glad I was able to, there'll be a time to do this activation because it's, yeah.
yeah, no, definitely meant to be. And I encourage everybody to go back and do that again, and maybe even incorporate it into your daily routine. So we're already coming to an end. Sad but true. I know that you, such as all the speakers, also have an amazing free gift. So tell us a little bit more about what you will be offering to the audience.
Thank you. I'm so excited to share this. And earlier, I mentioned that I'll talk about ISIS here. So I've shared this story with my community, which is that when I hosted my very first summit, this was 2 years ago, that was a deep dive initiation into taking up space, because that was the very first time I was putting myself out there in such a global way. And I needed all the support that I could get. And it was Isis, I could really feel Isis in this space calling to me. So I was doing a lot of ceremony with the Great Mother, this powerful goddess that we know as Isis. And during the summit itself, a message came through very clearly, which is that I would be offering Take Up Space, not just this one time, but there was going to be a series, in fact, a trilogy. So at that time, I had no idea how I would do this. And Julia, you've done summits before, so you know how it can take a lot out of you. But since this was the divine download, I listened and I trusted. And would you believe it? Here we are today. So this year's summit is the final one, and I want to celebrate the fact that the goddess made it possible. I would not have been able to do it alone. So I have two offerings to share. And the first is that I'm hosting a free circle/masterclass on July 26th. So that's give or take 2 weeks after the summit ends. And July 26th carries a special significance. It is the opening of the Lionsgate portal. It's also known in the Mayan calendar as the Galactic New Year. So I'll be sharing the significance of all of this during the free live call on July 26th. Suffice to say, it is a powerful window of time to release what no longer serves us so we can rise into a more authentic expression of who we truly are. So during this live call, we'll gather in sacred circle. I'll share a powerful teaching around space. I didn't quite get to go in as much detail today, so I'm going to offer all of that as a free gift to everyone who has signed up. And there's really nothing further you need to do. I'll be sending out an email near the date with all the Zoom link and instructions, and I hope to see you there. So this is an opportunity for us all to gather and connect as well, and to also share and give voice to the powerful dreams and intentions that we are seeding for the rest of the year. And then the second free gift, this is also connected to Isis. In fact, we are currently in what is known as the Sirius Gateway. So the Sun and Sirius, they just came into their closest alignment. This is around July 4th to 8th, which means that we have entered into a period where we have access to heightened spiritual energy, because Sirius is often regarded as our spiritual sun. And this alignment, what it means is that we have access to higher frequencies that we can tap on to liberate any blocks, any restrictions, any friction that's holding us back. And as you know, Julia, Sirius in ancient Egyptian mythology was closely associated with Isis. Every year, when it makes its first visible appearance, after it is obscured by the sun, and we know this as the heliacal rising. This was also when the annual flooding of the Nile River would begin. And with the flooding, with the water would come life. So Sirius/Isis is connected to fertility, to the life-giving waters, the abundance. And this typically takes place in early to mid-August. So we have the Lionsgate portal. The numerology is beautiful because it's 8/8, although it's not always exactly that, but it's a beautiful portal when the earth aligns with the sun. The sun is in Leo, so the lion, and then Sirius. And this is a beautiful celestial event. It occurs every year. You can even see it as a catalyst, right? Because it helps to accelerate soul-aligned abundance. But especially this year, which I've already referred to as a threshold year, I feel that we can do with more catalysis. So that's the process of where the catalyst accelerates our growth. We can do with more catalysis to help us cross the threshold and move into new frequencies in a more easeful, accelerated way. So I'm very excited. I'll be collaborating with a sister, and she is a magnificent creatrix. She calls herself an energy shaman. And we are going to do a 4-hour workshop. It's called 8/8 Activate. And it's all about activating your manifesting codes and embodying your mother lineage medicine. And that's very connected to the medicine of Isis. We'll be bringing Segment in as well. Already I can feel the container building for that one. So I just know it's going to be magical, magnificent. This workshop, it's $99. But for everyone who purchases a lifetime access to this year's summit, you'll get access for free. And that's my gift to you. So not only will you get permanent access to all 33 interviews, but you'll also be able to join us for this super powerful ceremony/transmission/workshop. So those are my two offerings. The first one is a free live circle on July 26th. And the second one is a paid offering, but you get it free if you purchase lifetime access to this summit. And both of them, they just feel so divinely aligned. And they are designed to help you, right? If after watching this summit, you feel called, you feel inspired to take up more space, join us for the live call, for both live calls if you can. If not, you do get downloadable access to all the recordings so that you can then take your next steps into igniting, into sparking, into manifesting from your creative fire. So that's what I have to offer, and I really hope that it serves the women who are watching this. Mm.
That sounds really, really amazing and so cosmic. Wow. Thank you so much. I mean, what a big bang to end this trilogy, right? And it's also a holy trinity, like the sacred three, the holy child, the new consciousness, the new perspective. So Irene, thank you so much for bringing these amazing speakers together, these minds, the hearts, the wombs, and just holding space and creating that space for that collective gathering and amplification, the catalyst of the divine feminine rising in the field. Thank you so much.
And a big thank you to you, Julia, for holding space for me, for making this conversation possible. You've held such a beautiful space and helping me feel comfortable during this interview. So I just want to honor and presence your beauty, your radiance, your light. And also a big thank you to all of you who are watching this. Do keep a lookout for another amazing lineup of speakers who are coming your way.